Okay, so today I finished reading the pull list that we had for this week, which was the Superman Leviathan Rising Special 1 and Batman Last Night on Earth. Please note that there are going to be spoilers in this video, so if you're planning on reading those, then don't watch this video yet, but make sure you bookmark it and you watch it later, because we still want you to watch it, just don't want to spoil anything for you. Okay, now that that's out of the way, we'll start off with the Superman Leviathan Rising. So it looks like the main purpose of this book was to kind of set up the fact that they're going to be continuing these storylines in other books, which... duh, I mean, that kind of always makes sense. It's a crossover event. But we have basically 2 new series coming out of this book, with the Lois Lane #1 coming out, and then a book about Jimmy. The Jimmy stuff in this book was supposed to be comedy, but I hate cat humor. And it was also just very gross. There was like an entire page of just a cat vomiting blood, so I wasn't in for that. Lois Lane seems cool though. She seems like a killer reporter who's willing to get a nasty scoop and not afraid to get her hands dirty, so that's awesome. Aside from just some genuinely confusing things in the comic for me as someone who's not super well versed in all of this stuff, like who was the chick at the beginning that Leviathan was talking to? What connection do the people in this universe at this continuity think that Clark Kent and Superman have in common? So why would they kidnap him, thinking that Superman was going to save him? Pretty much nothing in the Kara or the Supergirl storyline I understood at all, because it was all referencing other things, but I'm assuming that if you go and read the Superman Kara stuff, that will make sense. What I do want to dive into here about the Superman Leviathan Rising comic is, what are the things that we're learning about Leviathan? So we knew previously, Trevor had told me previously, he'd been reading more of the Superman comics, Action Comics 1007 through 11, leading up to this, which is that the Leviathan was going around and kind of just destroying all secret organizations, both good and bad. It seems like he kind of took the Leviathan, and when I say Leviathan, it can get confusing because I'm talking about the character, not the organization. The character Leviathan that we know from these comics and from the event actually took the Leviathan group. It looks from Talia al Ghul, which is why she tries to get back at him in this comic, from the best I can figure out. But the weird thing is, at the beginning, we see Leviathan looking for a weakness to find a way to attack Superman if he needs to, but he doesn't actually try to do it. That's the weird part. We think that maybe he's enacting this plan, but he's not. At the end of this comic, we find out that he actually thinks that Superman is going to join his side. Does that include the rest of the Justice League? I don't know. We know from Year of the Villain 1 that he was trying to get Barbara Gordon to join his side also. Is he looking or targeting specific people? Is he looking for a certain character trait that he may be able to exploit? We don't even really know his goals. The only thing we do know about him is that he is definitely got some crazy plans in the work, and he's definitely been fleshing out all these other groups. And ultimately, just what is he trying to accomplish? The other thing is, who could Leviathan be? The only thing I've seen presented in the comics that I've read is that it could potentially be Jason Todd, the Red Hood, ex-Robin from the Batman series. I'm not sure where that's going to go. We'll have to see from reading other comics around that time. But so far, we don't have much to go on. When he shows up in this comic, he's wearing a face camouflage thing that's constantly changing, so he doesn't keep a constant face there. We see him later on with a mask on when he releases Clark Kent because he says they made a mistake, which is just, it's a weird flow of the action here in this issue. This Leone lady who now owns the Daily Bugle has some kind of secret super villain inside the organization with them, and it looks like they're going to be trying to accomplish things like figuring out who Leviathan is, but also she's the one that kind of gives him advice for how to take Superman down. It's just a very weird thing, and there's a lot of pieces that are moving around that I don't understand. The best way to look at this comic is, I don't know if it's good or not because I need to find out what all the other pieces mean when they're all together. But right now, it mostly left me confused. Now, moving on to Batman Last Night on Earth. This one doesn't seem to directly tie into the Year of the Villain or the Event Leviathan storylines, but what it does do is it ties into the continuity for Batman that Snyder created back in 2011, which I've stated before and I'll state again, I'm extremely fond of that entire run and I love it and I recommend it to anybody. Now, from the preview that we got in Year of the Villain 1, I thought they were going to do some crazy weird stuff with the fact that Batman, back in, I want to say after 0 Year, we got the hint that Bruce Wayne was actually going to, at one point, go to Arkham Asylum and get electroshock therapy to forget everything. And I thought that they were playing with the idea that he never really was Batman and it was in his head the entire time. And that's what they do, but it really doesn't last that long to the comic, which I don't know how I feel about it. Ultimately, I didn't think that that's what they were going to stick with, but I do wish maybe they would have let that go a little longer before they let the cat out of the bag about what was actually happening. But I don't know how many issues they're planning on writing here, and I don't know how well the pacing would have worked on that. What we do find out pretty quickly is that this Batman, this Bruce Wayne, is someone that went into Batman's Batman a Fire Machine, where they get in and they get all the memories that make them Batman, and they learn how to be Batman by basically going brain dead, their brain going blank, and they learn this new stuff. We've seen that enacted in some of the very end of that arc, and we know that he built this machine. Well, it seems like this guy has been in this machine. The weird thing we get here is that Joker is somehow a talking head, and everything is gone, and they're in some weird wasteland, and this is a really just weird thing where he like pops up out of the ground, it's all deserted, and he finds some like Mad Max version of the Justice League that takes them underground and says that they're going to try to escape to Hades? What the heck is going on? This is super interesting to me and super weird. Batman gets his suit back at the end, the Justice League is taking the only refugees they have to Hades, and Batman sets off into the desert to go to try to save people and figure out what's happening in the world. This is all just so buck wild that I'm just excited for where we're going from here. In some ways, it's almost like a little bit of a video gamey vibe with this Joker on his hook. Reminds me of like a God of War thing with like, you get the dude and you carry him around and he talks to you and tells you stuff. It seems like the Joker may know more pieces of the story than what he initially lets on, whether he actually doesn't remember them or whether he's going to help Batman. Those are all to be seen. The thing I do know is I love Snyder's writing. I love this series. I love Greg Capullo's art, and this is just all very, very good, and it's making me happy so far. We do know that this is the first issue in this arc, but we don't know how many issues it's going to be, and we didn't even get a tease of when the next one's coming out, so I don't know. Maybe this is something I'm missing, or maybe I didn't see it, but I just didn't see it. So anyway, I liked both of these issues. I like the Batman one more, but that was kind of to be expected. But I'm super curious to see what Leviathan has planned and where that story arc is going to continue to go. I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts on this. Did either of you get a chance to read either of these books? Have you read any of the stuff leading up to Event Leviathan or Year of the Villain? If you have a chance, I recommend you at least go back and read the free digital issue of Year of the Villain that kind of sets everything off. If you haven't given comic books a shot, this is a great time to do it because we're going to be having a group of people kind of do this all at the same time. We can discuss it together and bounce theories off each other. It could be awesome. If you like this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to continue seeing videos like this as we cover the rest of Year of the Villain, please remember to subscribe and hit that bell button to get notifications for when new videos go live. I'm looking forward to see what happens to Batman, Superman, and the rest of the DC Universe the rest of this Year of the Villain event. And as soon as I find out more, I'll let you know. Thanks for watching.